Are we truly a nation set upon what we would consider traditional Christian values? Boy, we've went way far away from that. We have two statues going up in America right now, one in Texas, one in California. To me, it almost reminds you of like idol worship, and truthfully, that's what it is. We'll discuss that today. Also, we'll talk about some of the other things that are going along with the Christian or conservative movement. The faces that are now representing, quote unquote, the conservative movement are far from it. Is it our time to take back the conservative movement and make it what it should be? We'll discuss that today. Also, we're going to talk about two companies. Again, we talked about NVIDIA coming back with a $500 billion investment here in America. There's another company that deals with semiconductors. Are we actually seeing some of the things work that we wanted to see work when it comes to tariffs? We'll discuss that. We're also going to discuss America in whole. We see new Muslim leaders coming into America now, elected officials. We see the fact that these judges are allowing people to stay here illegally and stopping the movement of deportation. These things are actually impacting you more than you know. The judge that just let out the boy on a lower bond, that would have never happened if the situations with race were different. There's a lot taking place, and I think our focus has been on tariffs or economy. And really, are we losing our nation? Sadly, it's what it looks like. We voted for America to stay America. We voted for Trump's implementation of a lot of things that we wanted. He's trying. But between Congress and the judiciary and bad leadership, what's happening? We'll discuss schools, what they're doing, and how Trump is responding. Let's dive into all these things today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Thank you so very much for being here. We are humbled by you watching us. Our goal is to always give information that helps you go on throughout your day, but also helps you think. Think, okay, if we could be more wise in this situation, how could this impact my family better? I have 6 kids, so when we think about our marriage and think about our children and think about our home, I want to make sure that we're protecting it the best way possible. Well, nothing infuriates me more than today, being April 15th, that I have to write a check to the government to give more money that I've worked hard for, that they've done nothing for, to then turn around and them to abuse it and waste it. So that's not a really good start of the day. But that's just one problem. Money's a big issue. And yes, we've had some good news with tariffs. We see that a semiconductor company that we've been wanting to work with for a long time in Taiwan is now going to invest $25 billion into America. It's huge. NVIDIA, another company that deals with semiconductors and AI technology, investing $500 billion into America. Again, Trump said we're going to make sure that we're going to see deregulation so they can get into America and start allowing jobs to come in. So we may actually see the tariffs working. Now that's all on the economic side. I mean, there's some other good news with economics. Debt is down. Typically our debt ratio goes up every month, sadly. But there's a new study from a Kobayashi letter that said that people are starting to learn that debt maybe not is the best thing. Under 2 straight months, the U.S. consumer credit fell $810 million. The second monthly decline in just 4 months. The decline was driven by sharp pullbacks and people wanting to use credit cards to pay for goods, a drop in motor vehicle usages, and non-revolving credit, meaning they're not buying things right now. Now, that's a good thing with these tariffs, and that's a good thing to get a better settlement. I know now the consumer-driven banks and the big organizations and the big businesses are telling you how bad the world is getting when it comes to the financial house and getting your financial house in order. But to be honest with you, the scale back where people are realizing, I may not need that, it's just a want, is actually starting to show forth. So could the tariffs actually be benefiting Americans? Because now we just saved $810 million month over month. Just in debt, and people not packing on new debt. That means they bought what they needed with the money they had and then did not spend as much on debt as they've been spending. Non-revolving debt covering student loans, auto loans all fell $938 million this month. Americans are getting more cautious about their debt. That's not a bad thing. That's another good thing happening. With the market turning a little bit, it makes people think, well, should I buy this today? So again, something that I think is actually positive. My goal is to not be in debt. I don't want to be in debt. And then when I think about, again, writing a check today to the tax office, thinking I just had to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars, not including the thousands of dollars I paid with property tax, not including the thousands of dollars I've paid in my check over the last year, but now I got to pay more. When I think about that and think about how much the legislative and the judiciary is wasting my time and money and efforts to make America not great again, it infuriates me. And that leads me right to this next story. Let's talk about America. We now see a Muslim leader that just got elected as a mayor in Maine. We see the judge that just stopped the 500,000 illegal immigrants that are here, that should not be here. She stopped them from being deported. You can't even pronounce her name because she's not even from America. Now, is that a bad thing? No, but what I'm saying is she literally allowed the people that came in under Biden's watch, that are living on the Americans' dime, now not able to deport 500,000 that Trump wanted to deport, all because there's a plan behind her. That's what we see with these judiciaries and these legislative branches. Not only that, we see it with our schools. Harvard is still trying to keep DEI policies in, and also more leftist ideology. Well, Trump just said, we're not going to give you your endowment. I think that's great. If they want to set their policies based on teaching people not to love America, then they need to pay for it themselves. I think it's a phenomenal idea. Colombia is doing the same thing. They were actually allowing a Hamas supporter to literally speak openly about how much he hated America. Trump got rid of him just yesterday. But guess what? The judiciary was trying to stop him from being deported. Not only this, did you see that the Maryland senator, I think Holland or whatever his name is, he said he would personally go to El Salvador and pick up the man that is from Maryland. Now, what they're not telling you is a few things. The man is not from Maryland. The man is an El Salvadorian criminal who illegally came into our country. But they don't want to tell you that. Now, before we go any further, because this video is supposed to get very intense very fast, and I want to talk about it. But before we do, a word from today's sponsor. We're literally preparing to go out of town. And one thing that I've realized more and more and more, as a prepper, as someone who lives sustainable, who wants to be independent, there's times I have dependency. And there's times that if something goes wrong, I have to look for help. And if I'm out of state, or I'm in a campground somewhere, or I'm in a place that I'm not familiar with, things like sicknesses could be very dangerous for us. That's why today the sponsor, the Wellness Company, has been very vital to me. We have carried our packs of basically medical kits, emergency medical kits with us wherever we go in our vehicles and in our supplies. Because when we're out in the middle of nowhere, or we don't know a vicinity where we're at, or how to get to the doctor, or how to get to the pharmacy, especially if we're not in our own town, this has been invaluable to us. One of the best investments we've ever made. I want to tell you a story. For instance, we went to Colorado last year, and we had to beat a snowstorm. A snowstorm was coming in, so they were trying to get us out of Colorado. All of a sudden, my daughter woke up extremely sick to her stomach, nauseous, started throwing up, being very, very sick with a fever. We had our emergency kit with us. She took something for nausea, and we had to travel 20 hours. But the main thing was we had to get 3 to 4 hours out of Colorado before a snowstorm was coming, and it locked us in. We didn't know any doctors, any pharmacists, and we were leaving about 4 a.m. in the morning. This is why it's so important to have the Wellness Company and what they offer. There's a whole kit that could benefit you. Tons of safety medicines, prescriptions, things that you have on you when times get tough, when unrest happens. Be prepared. As I said, I don't want to be dependent on anyone. What the Wellness Company does is they give me independence, even with my prescriptions. Check out the Wellness Company. Here's a link below, twc.help/themax. Not only do you get free shipping, you save $32 off the kit. I literally have 3 of these kits. Don't leave home without them. And then also, say you're home and there's something going on in a big city. Say there's civil unrest in your city. Another reason to have the Wellness Company sitting right in your home. Do not be caught off guard. Be prepared, be ready. Check out their link below. Thank you, the Wellness Company, for sponsoring today's video. Talking about taking care of yourself, check out that company, a phenomenal company. I actually bought some just last month. A great investment. Now, as an American, has your Senate or Congressman ever said, look, if you're in a bind on your vacation, or you're in a bind somewhere, or you're in a jail, or you're down on your luck in a city, I'm gonna come get you. My car broke down. I was about 10 hours away. I called my senator. They didn't return my call. Should they have come and got me? Well, it's amazing that we have literally congressmen, Democratic congressmen, who are literally going on television saying that they're going to work hard to keep these MS-13 gang members here. Have they ever worked that hard for you? It's amazing that I'm writing a check to give to the legislative branch to spend, to give to the legal people that are here, that should be here, and that when we actually do our job and deport them, they're willing to spend my taxpayer dollars to fly over there and get them. Is that not, when you think about that, America is not what America should be. Now, do I blame that on Trump? Nope, I sure don't, because he's actually trying. Look what Bukele did down in El Salvador. Went from the most dangerous place to the safest place. Now, would that mean drastic changes? Absolutely. But if you are not breaking the law and you're not doing bad things, then you don't have nothing to worry about. We actually need to see those kind of reforms here. But we really can't, because our judiciary and our colleges and our Senate and our Congress are working against our president to keep the status quo in. You don't believe me? The Senate just went on a 2-week recess. There's still appointments that's not been done for Trump. There's still things that need to be passed. And guess what? In the midnight hour, when the shutdown looms, they'll say we had no time and we had to get to the very end to negotiate these terms. But they just took a 2-week recess from Congress. I don't see Trump doing that. You'll complain about him playing golf, but I don't see him taking a 2-week recess. I don't see him doing like Joe Biden and taking a week off to go to the beach at Rehoboth. So what we're seeing is no matter how hard our executive branch works, we have congressmen and Senate who are willing to waste your tax dollars to fly and get MS-13 gang members back here in America that are not even Americans. We have judges that are allowing 500,000 migrants to stay here on the taxpayer dollar. And we see colleges that are literally trying to keep coverage over people that are here on visas and here that are illegally speaking against America. They're not citizens, but they're willing to speak against America. And we're paying for it because our endowments are hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, going to these schools. Now you tell me we don't have some things wrong? Are we losing the sight of what conservatism looks in America? We just talked about a Muslim leader in Maine. We just talked about how the legislative and the judiciary are literally ruling over what the executive branch wants and what overwhelmingly America wanted to see in a leader that brought America back to where America should be. Not only that, the biggest conversations this last week in conservative media has been by Douglas Murray and people like Dave Rubin and people like Dave Smith and people like Joe Rogan. Even Elon Musk I'm going to throw in there. These guys all have good points. I'm not saying they don't have good points. But all these people, if you would have polled them 10 years ago, would probably have been liberal, leftist, or Democrat. They would have been what you would consider probably a Clinton Democrat. Everybody, a lot of people in this administration would have probably been that too. What I'm scared of is we have let our Overton window shift so much that the conservative movement has not become a conservative movement anymore. The conservative movement has been overtaken by a populist movement. Now, am I against that? No. As I wrote my tax check today, I want liberating from the tax. I'm a libertarian when it comes to having freedoms such as these. But I think what we're doing is we're missing out on, truthfully, the conservative movement. We call ourselves a Christian or conservative, nation. We saw that Trump wrote a big Easter post, and I thought the Easter post was really good. I really did. I thought it's spot on. He talked about Christ. He talked about what Easter means for Christians. It's great. And I do believe he is a better leader for Christians than we've had in a long, long time. But what I'm scared of is when we put our traditional conservative values on the table. Most of those things, the true conservative values now, they're actually still frowned upon. People don't want to mention those kind of things. Now, yes, we're talking Christ is King more, and I love it. I think that's a great thing. But again, where's our Christian leaders? Where's the conservative leaders that are not cursing and on stage? Where's the conservative leaders talking about Christ openly? Where's the conservative leaders not embracing this movement of Douglas Murray, Dave Rubin, and kind of this homosexual push in the Republican Party? Where have our true traditional conservative leaders gone? Now this is when I come back to the family. Without strong leadership in our homes, without fathers and mothers trying to teach their children right, with seeing now the school system has been embraced through liberal ideology, are we losing the grasp on what conservatism actually means in America? Just this week, they introduced this monster Hindu statue in Texas, in Sugar Land, Texas. I mean, it literally looks like an altar to an idol. Just this week, have you seen the San Francisco statue of the non-dressed lady that is supposed to represent some kind of art, but ultimately it looks like an idol? Just this week, a kid from Wisconsin literally slaughters his family, and he's trying to find ways to take money because he's part of a satanic cult, and he wants to do harm to the president. What are we doing? You wonder why our school systems are falling? You wonder why our legislative branch and our Congress are worthless? It's because we've lost all signs and all truths when it comes to morals and values and traditional conservatism. Look at every country in the world. If the people lost their traditional conservative values and they lost what the family impact was, they lost their nations. Look at the Roman Empire. Look at the Babylonian Empire. Look at any empire. Look at the Grecian Empire. Look at all of them. All of them failed when they started losing morals and values. Well, sadly, America is on that same trajectory. Yes, we have what we consider a Republican or conservative leader in the White House, but his hands have been tied by liberal policies and leftists who still won't let him do his agenda to the fullest. Not only that, even with Overton window shifting, even with the fact that there's been so much of a consensus that more people are becoming quote-unquote to the right and red-pilled, they're not really moving to conservatism. It seems like the conservative movement is kind of like the nerd in the room, and they want to be with the cool guys, so then they move closer to the center. Now, you may not have the same sentiment, but what I'm worried about is the breakdown of true core Christian conservative traditional values. The breakdown of morals and family and the importance of mom and dad in homes. I think that's what we're losing. I blame school systems, I blame politicians, I blame judiciaries. But more than that, I kind of blame the family structure. It starts at homes. If my kids have a bad situation coming up, they're probably going to have a different outlook on the world. So it actually comes down to me as a responsible father and my wife as a responsible mother to try to raise the best children we can so they can see the difference in what we're trying to teach them and then what the world is trying to teach them. I love the fact that credit card debt's going down. I love the fact that people are not wanting to borrow more money. I love the fact that we're arresting some people, and some people we are getting rid of and sent out of this country that shouldn't be here because they're literally claiming debt to America. That's great. But sadly, we still are seeing the movement away from traditional family, traditional values. I mean, I think I've heard every politician, including our president, but every politician, even on the conservative side, start using profane language now. Where have we gotten? They'll still dress themselves up in a suit instead of a t-shirt, but then they're still having a profane language. I think we've just lost a lot, and I'm scared that we're pushing too far away from what truly set America as a city on a hill. We're putting up statues. It's amazing to me. Think if, I just want to ask you this, that Hindu temple put up this big monster, god or idol that they have, little g. Again, San Francisco's doing the same thing. So if you went to these same cities and you said, every church is coming together and we're going to put a big statue of Jesus up, think how much kickback and blowback you would have. Think if all of a sudden, instead of the Muslim mayor in Maine, what if all of a sudden, nobody just said it, but a thoroughbred Christian pastor, almost like Billy Graham status, John MacArthur status, it's someone of a huge Christian lean, said, I'm running as a Christian platform. Everything that I'm going to do is going to turn everything to a Christian nation. It's sadly, a lot of conservatives would push back on that and say, no, you can't do that. We have freedoms here. But then we allow Muslim leaders to take over cities like Epic City, what they're wanting, like what they're doing in Maine, like what they're doing, literally stating based on the conversations we had a few weeks ago, how they are looking to get into local elections and start taking over local elections, just like they did in Europe. And now you see London and several other big cities across UK has been, I mean, pretty much ran to where Sharia law is the main law now. Is this what we want in America? Is this what America was set upon? Don't give me this lean, well, America's just free, it's meant to do whatever you want to do. Don't be so libertarian to say that you're willing to see your country go to nothing, because that's exactly what we're doing. It's just my personal thought. Good things are happening. I like Trump in the White House. I think he's doing good things. But he has no support. And the more pushback that he's getting is actually pushing back on the narrative that America could be great again. Pushing back on the thing, pushing back where Congress are willing to stand up for Venezuela and El Salvadorian gangs over you as an American. And it's tax day. You're writing money to pay for all that. Isn't it amazing? I would rather the face of conservatism not be some people that were once, independent or leftists or liberals, or, that don't actually see traditional marriage as important. I would rather see them not the face of conservatism, and I'd rather see better faces of conservatism. But you know who I blame? I don't blame the president. I actually don't even blame Congress and the judiciary, who is worthless. I don't even really blame our educational system as much as they are a lot to blame. They have a lot of blame here. I blame the breakdown of our families, our homes, our communities. Until we get that right, we'll never get anything else right. Until we start building our families back up and seeing the importance of pro-family agendas. You know a good policy? I'll be honest with you, what a good policy would be? If Trump came out and said, look, we're going to reform, and not only we're going to cut your taxes for, the $150,000 less. We can go along with that. I'm good with that. But what if he said, look, for every kid you have, not only are you getting a tax credit, we're gonna implement the fact that if we see a traditional family that's growing, like they've done in Hungary now, like they're doing in Hungary and even in some Asian countries, where they're not going to give you tax dollars back, they're just going to let you keep your tax dollars. So for every child you have, not just a tax credit, we're actually going to say, okay, it adds to that 150 that we were just talking about. So say you make $200,000, but you have 4 kids. Well, it costs a lot to raise children, so we're going to allow you not to have taxes either. Now, I don't believe you should have any tax. I think the tax is ridiculous. I think we need to go back to a tariff system. However, what I'm saying is we need to actually encourage having children, encourage father and mother in homes, encourage marriage. If we started seeing that again, I believe that we'd start fixing our nation. It wouldn't come from the top down, it'd come from the family up. That's my thoughts for today, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Are you glad to see some big statues going up that look like idols in America? Are you glad to see that different areas in America are going to this new movement of basically groups of individuals who literally didn't assimilate and hate America? That's exactly what's happening in Maine. That's exactly what's happening in Michigan. This is exactly what's happening in Texas. And we're allowing it to happen. Are you glad to see your Senate and Congress working so hard for you? No, they're not working hard for you. They're working hard for the Venezuelan and El Salvadorian gangs. And your judiciary is now trying to keep people here that are here illegally, and they want to help because they can't go home. They're criminals and they'll be thrown in jail. So we got to keep them here. All the while, you're paying your tax dollars today for it all to happen. Let me know your thoughts on all these stories today. Again, it's not meant to depress you. It's meant to encourage you to say, you know what? We do have some things going right, but it's time to fix our families. It's time to fix our communities. And when we start fixing that, we're going to start fixing our states and then our nation. God bless.